Mr. Westerman?
Yes, sir.
You
Am I
recognize?
recognized? Okay, thank you, Chairman. And I support this amendment, and I appreciate the gentleman from Montana, Mr. Rosendale, for offering it. As was mentioned, gas prices hit a 7-year high earlier this week. When you look around our country, we have crises after crises. We have a supply chain crisis that a lot of that is linked to what's happening in the ports in California and the ports all across this country. We have an energy crisis. We have a labor crisis. And yet my colleagues are here advocating for more policies that will worsen these crises and drive up energy costs even more. As I said earlier, this fee isn't even directed to a decommissioning fund as written, but would go straight to the Treasury. This provision was already included in the Natural Resources Reconciliation Bill to help pay for the $31.7 billion wish list, meaning Americans will pay for this both on tax day and at the pump. Rather than enact more legislation to hurt domestic energy production and drive up energy costs for American families and businesses, we should be addressing the unprecedented supply chain crisis before it gets even worse. We're already hearing rumors that shelves may not have supplies on them when Christmas season shopping comes around. I mentioned earlier, folks in my district back in Arkansas are talking about the squeeze that they have on their supply chain and how that's adversely affecting businesses. We're seeing increased inflation in energy and food and all across the board. And there's really no purpose in this added regulatory burden and these added regulatory fees. These decomposing pipelines, as they were talked about, are no environmental threat when they have no product in them. And when they're decommissioned, they actually provide structure for habitat. I wish Mr. Graves was here to talk about that more, but I think this is unneeded, unnecessary regulation. It's going to add additional cost, and Mr. Rosendale's amendment helps rectify that. Again, I support the amendment, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I recognize myself in opposition of the amendment and urge my colleagues to vote no. As my colleagues likely remember, a similar offshore pipeline owner's fee was included in the committee's Build Back Better Act.